This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everyone. What I'm going to say is probably what you're not going to want to hear. But if you want to move your life forward, whether it's your mental health, your physical health, you need to form habits. Everything's a habit. Everything we do essentially is a habit. But getting there, that's the challenge. We're going to talk about forming healthy habits. And he's a product of that and has a lot of deep insight on that. He's the founder and wellness coach at Mehtaab Wellness. Am I saying that right?
Yes, Steve. Mehtaab Wellness.
Mehtaab Wellness.
Named
He
that
is
from son.
beautiful. Gurjit Singh is back with us. How is everything going on your world today?
It's going well, Steve. It's things could be better, but it is what it is. You make one habit at a time, and you move on and make changes as you go along.
I've heard that 21 days is the minimum sweet spot, if you will, for forming a habit. Is that true?
Most specialists do recommend that it takes 21 days for your brain and your body and your value system to adapt to habits, and it does take 21 days. But wellness and forming a habit is a constant development that we have to keep doing. And the reason experts say 21 days is because by 21 days, you're constantly doing it and you don't even think about it anymore.
I want to go back to something you shared with us a couple of weeks ago that you lost weight. You were intentional about doing it. You hit that goal even before you planned on doing it. And it would you say it was all changing your habits, creating better habits?
Yes, Dave. It had to do with changing a lot of my habits. I had to get rid of my snacking and replace it with healthier snacking. I had to get rid of eating late after 7 p.m. I did do it at occasionals when I had to do it, but I limited the extra eating, the extra snacks, the extra cravings at the middle of the night, the extra soft drinks. So it did take a lot of changing on my side and changing of the values and the habits as well.
So I've also heard, see, this is great because you're either confirming or denying myths about habits. I've heard that any habit we adopt always has to have a pleasure point. What do I mean by that? Well, example, smoking is, they say, a habit. What's the pleasure point in smoking? Well, a release of stress. It just something that makes you feel that is good for you in terms of just the reason why you're smoking in the first place. That's the plus side. Food, but sweets. There's a pleasure point there. There's something on the positive side. We won't form habits unless there's a pleasure point. Is that true?
Yes, it is true. We do need pleasure points to form habits, and it has to be effective, and our mental state has to understand that it is benefiting us in one way or another.
Benefiting. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Uh, how do we get on that track? All right. So there's the 21 days as the starting point. Got to get past that, or at least get there. But that's like a hill that you're looking up that now you have to climb. How do we make that climb easier?
Um, we have to use, like you said, Steve, our pleasure points. We have to use our brain's pleasure feelings to move forward. For example, when I was losing weight, I had to make sure I like to eat chips, for example. Then I needed to find an alternative which will give me the same pleasure of the crunchiness and
Oh,
pleasure of keeping me full for longer. So I had to figure out which form of nuts was giving me that pleasure point. I went through walnuts, I went through almonds, I went through cashews, and in the end, I ended up combining all three.
wow. I never looked at it that way, but the consistency. So there's, the crunchiness. There might be a craving. Some of us like that. You feel like you're eating something. It could be a celery stick. I'm just saying that could take care of that. If let's say you added tiny bit of hummus on top of that. Um, by the way, recently I'm trying to eat better. I'm not you yet, but I'm working on it. I discovered eating peppers. So, red peppers, green peppers. I love, a little bit of spice to them, and dipping them in a little bit of hummus. And hummus, yeah, from what I understand, fairly healthy. Don't overdo it. Just a little bit. Doesn't take a lot. I get the crunch. I get some flavor. Um, so I'm kind of liking that as a snack. Very carefully done, not overdoing it. But I never thought of like the different things that come along with that, especially when it's eating, um, of things that you need to replace, including the crunchiness. So let's say it isn't food. Let's say it's you want to be intentional about your fitness routine, working out. What can you do there?
Um, it is just replacing the elevator with stairs, taking the stairs, parking the car a little further down when you go to work. Let's say you park 20 feet away from in a parking space, park 40 feet away. That's few extra steps while you're walking to work and walk coming back.
So when you are you saying that once you start doing it, you'll continue to do it? But
Yes,
I'm looking for the
thing
benefit.
is you're hitting your pleasure points. You're hitting dopamine effect. The dopamine is our brain's neuron which helps us feel pleasure. So if you're walking and you're enjoying and you're looking around a little bit more than usual, I'll give you a perfect example, Steve. I'm gonna uh, use someone else's name rather than my original client. So let's just say Miss J
Hmm.
was one of my clients. She was a nurse. She's a mother of, and she was taking care of an elderly parent as well. She was picking up extra shifts to make money because she had to take care of kids and expenses and everything. And she was also taking care of an elderly parent and was stressed all over. So when I started talking to Miss J, I told her, listen, you need to make time for yourself. You're feeling burned out. So what she's doing was getting a cup of coffee from work while she was leaving, parking the car a little further. She was walking from work to her car. It used to take her about 3 to 4 minutes. And I told her, is there a possibility you can park a little further away and while you're enjoying your cup of coffee? She started parking a little further away in a different parking lot than the one that was right next to her building. And when she was getting off, she was walking and sipping on her coffee. She started noticing the color changes of the trees, noticing other things around the neighborhood. She didn't realize she was working so hard that there was a new building coming up. So, and she started waving to the construction people while she was walking. And in 3 months of time, she was less stressed. She stopped taking extra calls, extra shifts. She stopped picking up extra shifts because now she was feeling pleasure in little things, and she started improving overall.
Wow. And something that many of us don't do is enjoy nature, ground, which is very important. And she was intentional. Probably didn't even know she was doing it, but as she's walking along, experiencing nature, seeing the beauty in life where many of us don't. We're just rushing on to the next thing.
That's correct, Steve. We need to take a moment to enjoy our present. And that is what she has forgotten. She has
Mhm.
forgotten that a new was coming up. Uh, she was waving to the construction people. She was enjoying nature. She was enjoying her cup of coffee. And by the end of her sessions, she had even stopped drinking coffee. But
Wow.
she just liked holding a in her hand while she was walking from work to the car.
And nothing wrong with coffee, but if you can replace that with something else, it might even be better for you.
Yes,
I'm thinking here, many of the things we do out of habit, we don't even realize that we're doing them. Just like that cup of coffee, just like you might have something in your hand. It might be you're just so used to doing it every day, and it might be a latte or something that you're spending $6 on every single day. And you're just so used to holding that warm cup. That could be a cup of tea worth 50 cents in a tea bag or less, 20 cents in a tea bag, um, and better for you, not the sugar of the latte and all of that, but it goes back to the habit of I'm just used to holding this warm cup of something.
yes, that's correct, Steve.
What else
And
can you
I
tell us
totally
about
agree with that.
in terms of forming positive habits? What else can we do?
We have to attach it to an existing habit. For example, in my story, Miss J, she was walking to her car anyhow, and she was drinking that coffee. She just had to park a little further.
Do you think that she was intentional in terms of doing that? And was she even aware, of drinking that coffee every day?
She was drinking the coffee because it helped her feel relaxed. Because right after work, she was working long hours. She felt like she needed that extra energy with extra sugar in it
Mm,
to go home and take care of her responsibilities.
gotcha. So let's say we're looking at making a change in our life. We know, I guess that's the biggest challenge, realizing the habits you have now aren't the ones that are supporting whatever your goals are. Are there other things that we can do toward making those habits stick? It's almost like New Year's resolutions, typically 14 days in, many of us, I think the number is like 70 something percent, we just derail and that's it. We haven't created a habit with that. What else can we do? Anything that stands out for you?
You need to focus on consistency rather than the amount of intensity. For example,
Hmm.
why do gyms make money? Because everyone has a New Year resolution going, okay, I'm going to join the gym, lose X amount of pounds, XYZ, and not making, you got to start small. You got to start small
Hmm.
and
And
then build on that as you go along because the brain likes consistency, routine.
I would imagine too, celebrating the win along the way. When you were in the process of losing weight, I'm sure you maybe in the beginning, but I'm sure you weren't looking at it as like, well, I have a goal of 40 pounds and I'm so far away from that goal without forgetting you're 3 weeks in and let's say you've already lost 5 pounds. You're on the path. Celebrate that instead of looking at the end goal.
That's correct, Steve. You have to understand to celebrate the small wins. If you don't celebrate the small wins, the brain gives up. The brain's like, okay, now it's a chore.
Mm.
See, according to Tiny Habits, you have to put the habit in along with the existing habit. Then you have to start small Then you have to celebrate the small wins and keep doing it consistently. Sometimes you might say, okay, it's not yielding results, but sometimes it takes longer for habits to stick. That is why that 21-day mark is put into place, because now we have certain days in mind. Someone forms a habit much earlier, some it takes longer, but if you have a middle number in mind, you're working towards that. Because if you're doing it for 21 days, you're not even thinking about it anymore. You're just doing it blindly, and the brain has already picked it up as a habit or as a regular routine, and you're constantly doing it.
Should we, and I'm going to use let's say you're starting a business example. What do? You typically have a business plan. You kind of plan things out, maybe have different milestones you're going to hit along the way. When it comes to a habit, no matter what it is, I'm not going to eat chips anymore. or or I want to lose 40 pounds, or I I want to make sure that I go to the gym, a certain number of times a week, or maybe study class, something like that. Should you document it and have a realistic blueprint, GPS, if you will, for what you're planning to do within that habit?
Yes, according to Atomic Habits, the author does recommend that you have to identify your goals. You
Hmm.
have to have a vision in mind. You have to have milestones, and you should celebrate every small milestone as you go along the way. So you are experiencing the dopamine effect, the pleasure effect, as well as you're celebrating the journey as well as achieving the goal.
Using your weight loss journey, and by the way, you shared with us you hit that goal before you were planning. I think you hit it in September, and your goal I think was at the end of the year. So you were a number of months ahead of that. What were your biggest challenges along the way?
Um, Making sure what led to my cravings. So I had to figure out what habits were hindering me to get to my goal. So I had to find the cues, the cravings, I had to respond to it. Then I had to replace it with a healthier habit, and then hit a reward if I was keeping it away at bay.
Okay. All right. So you were rewarding yourself along the way?
Yes,
Hmm. Yeah, I never thought of that too. Certainly, some people when they're on a diet have a cheat day, maybe have a dessert once a week or whatever works for you. Um, can that also work with other goals? Let's say fitness goals. Let's say you're you're studying and you're looking to get a degree. And yeah, it's I have a friend that just got a master's in library science or something like that. And that was at age 50 that he got that done. But I wonder if it's you can or should reward yourself no matter what the goal is or the habit. In his case, the habit of consistently studying, staying on track.
that is correct, Steve. We need to reward ourselves no matter how small the wins are. Like you mentioned, your friend, they got they got a master's, which is a great achievement to get a master's. I'm sure they rewarded themselves when they saw their grades after every semester
I
and kept them
I have to ask him.
motivated throughout the whole process.
I have to ask him that because now I'm very curious about it. And it's interesting. Now he gets to the degree. What's the next habit? Looking for a job. So now you have to create that habit, which is, that can be a job in itself, looking for one, that supports you.
Yes, and that's a big achievement, getting a master's. And now, like you said, finding a job is also a habit. Now they have to use their original habit of studying and putting that towards looking for that job. All those hours they spend studying for exams is now helping them form a new habit of sitting in front of the computer, figuring out what the job requirements are, and aligning their skill set towards getting that job.
Anything that we haven't hit upon today when it comes to forming healthy habits or positive habits?
Yes, we have to remember it's motivation, consistency, and resilience that help form a habit. And all I can say is start small.
Mm. Before we close today, you said resilience. Big word for me. Life changing once I realized I had more than I ever thought I had, piloting through situations. How does resilience connect to habits?
Being consistent helps you stay resilient, and having a plan helps you stay consistent. So it all comes down to having a plan, having a vision, having the motivation, which helps us make small changes lasting.
Gotcha. How do we find you? I know this is what you do. You can help with accountability, help people with their commitments, help them stay on track, even plan out what their new goals are and create those habits to attain that goal. What's the best way to connect with you and even just start a conversation on a path to success?
Steve, the best way at the moment is to reach me out through email, which is lifeisapresent25@gmail.com.
Gotcha. I said this before. I'll say it again. I love that email address. nobody nobody says that. Life, when you think about it, life is a present.
Yes, Steve, you are right. Life is a present. You only have one,
Yeah.
and we live multiple times throughout one lifespan.
And why not create habits that support that and celebrate the wins along the way? Gurjit, thank you for being here today. Really appreciate it. And again, life is a present 25 at gmail.com to start a conversation to change. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll be right
Thank you
back.
for having me.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.